facial recognition, the technology is coming under new scrutiny. We'll take a look at that. And getting the most out of your Orlando vacation. Kelly McKellar is here with some tips for us. Plus, we're going to a potluck dinner. Mid-morning starts right now.
WCBI's Mid-Morning with Aundrea, breaking away from your everyday.
Good morning, everyone. Researchers in New York are testing a new class of migraine drugs. They say the treatment could be a better option for patients who are not helped by the current medications that are available. Tom Hansen has the details.
Donna Esterine has suffered from debilitating migraines for years.
It's like a sharp pain, usually like right up here, my forehead, my eyes.
The 48-year-old mother of two says she's missed family time and work to try to cope.
I would take a lot of sick days only because I couldn't take it. You know, I would have to just be home, laying down.
She took standard migraine medications known as triptans, but they made her feel nauseous. Then she enrolled in a clinical trial testing a new drug called remigipan. The drug belongs to a new generation of treatments that targets a migraine molecule.
There hasn't been a new mechanism for the acute treatment of migraine that's come on the market since the early 90s.
New research in the New England Journal of Medicine finds remigipan successfully relieves pain and other symptoms, including nausea and light sensitivity. Dr. Richard Lipton at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine and Montefiore Health System led the study, which was sponsored by the drug company. The research looked at more than 1,000 men and women treating moderate to severe pain.
People who have side effects to triptans, people who don't respond to triptans, people who have cardiovascular contraindications to triptans will be the ideal candidates for this drug.
The study also shows the drug has very few side effects. Donna says she's finally getting relief from her migraines.
It goes away so much faster. So I do feel okay. I don't get any side effects.
Giving her the ability to get right back to her life. Tom Hansen, CBS News, Bronx, New York.
The company that makes the drug is filing with the Food and Drug Administration for approval and could get the green light within the next year. Well, new concerns are being raised about facial recognition technology. It comes days after several reports found that some federal agencies are using it to scan state driver's license databases without motorist consent. Nicole Killian reports.
The committee is meeting today.
At a Homeland Security hearing, House lawmakers pressed federal officials following a pair of reports in the Washington Post and New York Times. The news organizations obtained documents showing the FBI and ICE used facial recognition technology to comb through DMV databases in 3 states without drivers' knowledge or consent.
Are your components currently attempting to or successfully accessing state driver's license databases in any way?
We do use driver's license information from the states that have entered into agreements with us.
No one from the FBI or ICE testified, but an official with Customs and Border Protection said his agency primarily uses the technology when people are coming in and out of the country.
We're simply automating and using a computer algorithm to enhance this manual facial recognition existing process.
An administrator from TSA said it's been testing out a pilot biometric program to aid passenger screenings at Atlanta's airport that could be expanded to others.
It will not be used for any law enforcement purposes. And as always, passengers will have the opportunity to not participate.
This is one of several hearings Congress has held in recent months on facial recognition as lawmakers debate whether the unregulated technology should be reined in.
Our privacy is our privacy, and we have guarantees under the Constitution.
This technology, in my judgment, has really protected the nation from drug smugglers, gang members, and potential terrorists.
A government accountability report published last month reveals 21 states and the District of Columbia allow the FBI to access their driver's license and identification photos. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The House Judiciary Committee has reportedly requested a briefing by the FBI and ICE on its use of state databases. In a new survey, 85% of people said they've been hit with an unexpected or hidden fee over the past 2 years. Mark Liverman found out that avoiding them can be difficult.
Christine Nicholas is just one of millions of Americans frustrated with hidden fees and extra charges. She recently purchased a flight posted online for about $100, but it ended up being a lot more.
And then by the end of the day, it's about $190 or $230 because you have to pay for the seat, you have to pay for the baggage.
For Mark Baden, the surprise came when he rented a car and was hit with an automatic refueling fee.
It was really frustrating. There's nothing you can do about it.
Extra flight and rental car charges were common complaints in a new Consumer Reports survey, but fees from the telecommunications providers ranked at the top, including the extras found on cable bills, like this broadcast TV and sports programming surcharge. Hotels also made the list. Many now add charges like a resort fee.
People are driven crazy by them. 96% of the survey respondents said they found them annoying.
Anna Layton from Consumer Reports says fighting back against the fees is tough.
For individuals, it's a matter of searching carefully, understanding where fees might pop up, and doing everything you can to know what's coming and budget for it, and to fight when you feel that there's a fee you've been charged unnecessarily.
The good news, the survey found that 64% of people who complained about an unexpected charge were able to get it taken off their bill. Consumer advocates are pushing to get rid of the added fees, but admit they aren't going away anytime soon. Mark Liverman, CBS News, New York.
Well, we've mentioned this before. Your dog food might be deadly to your pet. Just because it's more expensive does not necessarily mean that it's healthier. Alexandria Cohen found out some dog foods might be damaging your dog's heart.
Before you feed your furry friends dinner tonight, you might want to check this recent FDA study that links some dog foods to heart disease. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration study lists 16 dog food brands that could be linked to the deadly problem. Local veterinarian Allison Fields with the Hermitage Animal Clinic says the study is concerning.
I think that we just need to be aware that we don't know what the causative agent is. Nobody is saying that the BEG diets, which is the boutique, exotic, grain-free diets, are, purposefully causing this at all. That's not it, but we don't know what it is.
The study analyzed 500 cases of dilated cardiomyopathy in dogs, and researchers looked at the food they were eating. Akana had 67 cases, Signature had 64 cases, and Taste of the Wild had 53 cases.
I would advise them to talk to their veterinarian and go with the big 5 brands that have veterinary nutritionists on board, have passed all of the testing that they need to, and are doing feeding trials, which are great. So those are Purina, IAMS, Royal Canin, Eukanuba, and Hill Science Diet.
If your dog has a grain allergy, that's a different story. It's best you consult an expert and do your own research on your dog's food. Reporting in Asheville, Alexandra Cohen, News Channel 5.
When we come back, a look at Universal and Disney. Which parks work for your family? Kelly will help us figure it all out next on Mid Morning. All right, we're back, everyone. One of the best family vacation destinations is Orlando, Florida. There's a lot to do and 2 really big amusement complexes. So where should you go, Universal or Disney? Kelly McKellar, our travel agent, is here this morning to talk about the difference and what works best for you and your family. So first, let's just begin with this. There is a difference.
There is a big difference. A very common misconception is that you can do all of this in one location, that Universal is a part of Disney and Disney is a part of Universal. They are 2 separate entities.
For the longest time, I thought that myself.
Very, very common. Universal is owned by Comcast and is in a completely different area of Orlando than Walt Disney World. Of course, Walt Disney World is owned by the Walt Disney Corporation.
Kind of where they are.
And they are on 2 different ends of the interstate on I-4. So, if you're thinking I can go to Disney and go see Harry Potter, you are going to be sadly mistaken because it is not in the same place.
All right. But it is possible if you're going on an Orlando vacation to do both if that is what works for your family. So let's talk a little bit about the differences in the 2 complexes. So Disney World. What's at Disney World?
All right. Disney World is a resort in itself. So there are all the things that you need to stay. Hotels, parks, water parks, dining, shopping, everything.
All right.
Universal has the same thing.
Okay.
They also have resorts and parks and water parks and shopping.
So for either one of these, you could, if you wanted to fly into an airport, get on some sort of transit system and just get there. You don't necessarily need a car to go anywhere.
That's right.
Okay.
Once you get there, you can stay there. Now, a lot of my guests like to do both.
Okay.
Do a little Walt Disney World, do a little bit of Universal Orlando, too.
Okay.
So you can do both in one trip.
Now, if I have really small children, let's say, you know, 3, 4, 5, are they going to enjoy Universal?
There are a few things that they would enjoy, but as a whole, Walt Disney World would be where I would say young children need to go. Universal is the thrill park capital.
Okay.
I mean, if you want thrill rides, roller coasters, simulators, Universal is where to go.
And there are going to be a bunch of stuff at Universal that your little bitties can't get on, even if they wanted to.
That's right. Lots of height requirements, and I think that's the big thing, you know, that you need to look at the ages of your children and what they like to do, and if they meet the height requirements. And there are some height requirements at Disney, but very few compared to Universal.
The cool thing about Disney is that there, while it's really catered to children, there are lots of things that adults can enjoy as well.
That's right. I mean, and both have their own things that
everybody can do.
Everybody can enjoy, but I would say for a majority of the family, Walt Disney World is probably going to be the best bet.
All right, and you'll probably spend the bulk of that time, depending on how old your children are, at Magic Kingdom.
That's right.
Okay.
But, you know, if you have teenagers or, you know, young adults, Universal is incredible. Universal even has Halloween Horror Nights, which is the scary side of Halloween, which is a lot of fun.
Right.
Where Disney has Mickey's Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
Exactly.
So they kind of balance out. You've got Disney that's got the fun child side, and then you've got the more adult side with Universal.
Both parks are going to give you options for dining, right? Like dining plans?
That's right.
Okay.
And they're very different. Universal has more of an a la carte kind of dining, where Disney has a comprehensive dining plan.
Okay.
Universal has 2 parks and 1 water park, where Disney has 4 parks and 2 water parks.
All right. They both have a system that helps you get through those lines a little bit faster. Okay. Talk about those.
So Disney has Fast Pass, which is free basically, and it comes with your ticket. You get 3 of those per person per park day. Where on the other side with Universal, they have Express Pass, which you do have to pay for, but the cool thing is you can Express Pass every ride. So you don't have to wait for anything.
So you just pay one
very
fee
different.
for an Express Pass, and whatever you want to ride, you ride.
Yes. Which
Interesting.
Disney's is free.
Yes.
And Universal's you do have to pay for.
And the difference also with Disney is you have to reserve your times, right?
Yes.
Do you have to do the same at Universal?
No, you just, at Universal, you just walk up and ride.
Okay.
Where at Disney, if you do Fast Passes, you do have to schedule those.
All right. You also mentioned sort of payment plans that both offer that option.
And that's great too, because now we're booking for next year, 2020. I have a lot
Already.
of families already booking all the way out to December of next year. And the cool thing is, if you start now, you have until whenever you go next year to pay on it. Most places require a deposit, of course, but like Universal and Disney, you can pay along if you want to. So it's almost like a layaway.
One of the really cool things that you've talked about is for like grandparents who want to do a gift for their child. This is a really cool way to do it. It's to sort of pay over time, and then
That's
it's their
right.
Christmas present or
Great
birthday
idea.
present
Give
or
the
whatever.
gift of memories.
I agree. Like it a lot. All right.
Yes.
All very, very good information. Disney, Universal ain't the same thing, but you can go to Orlando and do both.
That's
and you
right.
can help them do that, by
And
the
I
way.
can help you with both sides.
All right. You can find Kelly, of course, on social media, or you can drop her an email, or you can call us. We'll tell you how to get in contact
There you
with
go.
her. All right. Coming up, you can solve a lot of problems around the dinner table. At least that's what one community hopes to do. That story is next. The CBS This Morning series, A More Perfect Union, aims to show that what unites us as Americans is far greater than what divides us. Every month, people in Hoboken, New Jersey, gather with family and friends for a good old-fashioned potluck dinner. Don Daler got a seat at the table.
What are you making?
I'm making yellow rice and beans.
Hoboken resident Ramona Braxton is doing her part to cook dinner for 100 or so of her neighbors.
Because everybody that goes to the community dinner always asks my mom if I can make it for them.
Oh, it's a favorite.
So it's a favorite.
On the second Monday of each month, folks from this neighborhood and beyond have gathered to share a meal. It started 2 years ago as a way to help heal after a tragic shooting. But after finding comfort in food and community with the dinners, they decided to keep up the tradition. Arlette Braxton, Ramona's mom, has been volunteering her time and her daughters since the beginning.
And there was a young lady at first that was running it, Julia. She just wanted the community to get together. And so I said, well, that sounds good. You know what? I'll hang in there. I'll do this, you know. And from that moment on, I've been stuck. The only time I haven't...
You've been stuck.
Yeah.
Stuck along with John Milius.
I didn't cut it straight. You're right, Arlette. Everything Arlette says is right. I'm always wrong.
She told us that, actually. That's what she
Oh,
tells
my
us.
gosh.
He lives across the street from the public housing building where the dinners are served and has become one of the coordinators.
I love the idea of getting to know new people and just kind of building relationships with them. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's the idea of like creating family.
And Milius and his fellow hosts have created quite a family.
So make sure that you introduce yourself to somebody that maybe you haven't met before.
Regular guests include local politicians, business leaders, and members of the Hoboken Police Department.
You're here on your own time.
Right. I'm here because I love this town. I grew up here. It's the people that we serve, so that's why we come down.
The food's pretty good, too.
It's delicious.
So if the food is what attracts people, is the conversation what keeps them here?
I would like to think so, yeah. I mean, food is a really important factor. But I think the idea of breaking down barriers and creating bonds with people is something that keeps people always coming back.
Great energy, very positive people. I'm glad I was invited.
What do you think? Is it the food or is it meeting the people who live around you? What's the best part? Both?
Mostly the food.
I like your honesty. That's great. All right, that was terrific, guys. Thank you so much. Really good. Enjoy.
All right, when we come back, a whiskey that is generations in the making. The story from Tennessee ahead on Good Morning. Welcome back. A new whiskey distillery will open its doors to the public in Tennessee this September. The whiskey Uncle Nearest honors the first known African-American master distiller in U.S. history. You may remember the lost story of Nearest Green, the slave who taught Jack Daniel how to make whiskey. And now that the secret's out, Green is getting a shot at cementing his own legacy.
This is about Tennessee history.
Best-selling author Fawn Weaver is an unlikely force in Tennessee whiskey country.
Just 2 weeks ago, these were all horse stalls.
In less than 3 years, she's launched Uncle Nearest and raised about $20 million to take over the whiskey's production and turn this horse farm into a distillery.
You went from reading a story in the International Times to becoming the first female, the first of color person to run a major whiskey or spirit brand.
Yeah, overall, period.
It's her way of honoring the man known to some as the godfather of Tennessee whiskey.
If you want to appreciate jazz, you better know who Louis Armstrong was. And if you want to appreciate American whiskey, you should know who Nathan Nearest Green was. They all died.
Jeffrey Wright from HBO's Westworld feels so passionately about preserving Green's story
Nearest Green was a slave here.
that he made a short film to honor him. In the late 1850s, a farm owner's slave known as Nearest Green started working with a young orphan named Jack Daniel.
We just need to know stories like this because it smashes the lies.
There is no known photograph of Nearest Green, but this is his son George sitting right next to Jack Daniel. A black man and a white man sitting side by side at a deeply divided time in the deep American South.
You have this great, iconic American brand and this thing that is representative of something that sits in our soul, that's created by the coming together of two families, an unlikely partnership.
That partnership was an open secret in Lynchburg, Tennessee.
It's kind of the same family.
William Hussey Jr. is a member of the Tennessee Squires, a Jack Daniels fan club of sorts.
You believe in this brand so much, you've like literally inked it on your skin.
Yes, and this one here is the Jack Daniels, like the barrel house and different barrels. And this is my newest Uncle Nearest, which is a piece of Jack Daniels history.
This has changed the story that folks in these parts have been living with most of their lives. How are they dealing with it?
Well, I would say about 95% has understood and have accepted it. But I think there's still the 5% of old Southern boys who could care less, would like to keep everything hidden.
He's become an unlikely ambassador for Uncle Nearest, another steward of the story. As author Fawn Weaver likes to say,
Every single time you take that sip, you should be telling the story of Nearest. That's how we make sure that his legacy is not only cemented, but it continues on beyond us to the next generation.
I wish my grandmother could see this. I do. I am Nearest Green's great-great-granddaughter.
Victoria Edie Butler says the idea to make a whiskey bearing her ancestor's name came first from a member of Jack Daniels' family, and then from her own.
Fawn was like, what can we do to keep Nearest Green's legacy alive? And one family member said, put his name on a bottle.
3 of Nearest Green's descendants still work at the Jack Daniels distillery.
They were solidly behind you in this discovery mode of who Uncle Nearest was. You're their competition now, aren't you?
I do not consider myself competition whatsoever. When we go out into the marketplace, we are selling Uncle Nearest, but we are talking about Jack in a way that makes you want to drink Jack Daniel as well.
An unlikely friendship, an iconic American brand, and now a legacy that can never be forgotten.
What happens when everything we know about something changes?
This is a story that unifies us, and I think we so desperately need that now. We forever will be in this thing together, and that's the story of Nathan Nearest Green, Uncle Nearest, and Jack Daniel.
And we will be right back to wrap things up. All right, be sure you stay connected with us. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We'll see you back here next time.